Welcome, everyone, to this edition of CPG Insiders. I'm your host, Mark Young, co-host Justin Gerard, and we're joined today by Jekyll+Hyde Labs creative director Paul Perzyk.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Paul, welcome to the Octagon.
Oh, thank you. The holy triumvirate here today.
Yes. So, folks, we're going to talk about some brand design stuff. So, we're kind of have a bit of an open conversation. And this actually came out of a open conversation that we were literally having and said, geez, we should have been recording this. This would have made for a good show. So we're going to hope that we can recreate the same magic that we had when we had the first conversation. But what we're talking about is a couple things. One, and let me kind of set the premise here. For a lot of young brands, so I'm kind of talking to the new brands at the moment, a lot of new brands, they become very fixated early on in their career, early on in their life, about we have to have the right logo.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have the perfect logo. We have to have all of this, and we have to have the right slogan.
Mm.
We've got to have just do it. Or, whatever the slogan is that happens to be a big deal for you. Now, what I first want to point out to people is on any given year, statistically, there are, for the most part, no more than what we'll call 50 to 100 universal recognized brands.
Mm-hmm.
Number one brand in the world being Coca-Cola, where the shape of the bottle is a brand.
Right.
But as a rule, 50 to 100 brands is about the limit. And when I say that, I mean brands that I can say, just do it, and you immediately know who that is and what the logo looks like.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or brands where I could just show you the Nike swoosh, and you could say Nike and just do it.
Right.
Where all of those connections come together. And I want to defy people to challenge themselves with that. Think about how many, just off the top of your head, how many company slogans can you really remember? And then sometimes companies get rid of their slogan. Google got rid of their slogan. Do you remember Google's original slogan?
I don't. No.
How about you, Justin?
I don't remember it. I do remember the news story of them changing it.
Their original slogan was "Do no evil."
Yes, that's right.
And then they quickly determined, oh no, we need to do a lot of evil. So
that's not living out their brand purpose.
We can't be all powerful and do no evil. Right. So
yeah, I mean, in reality, think about the Google of today. The Google of today cannot have a slogan that says "Do no evil."
No, that's not.
Well, it's interesting, Mark, because you said, what is it, 50 to 100? I don't even know if that's even I think it's even less than that. I mean, I'm trying to think of 10.
Yeah.
That I can make that connection effectively in my mind and have that recall. I mean,
I can't.
I think 100.
There probably is. There's at least 50 that you could come up with. I mean, you would identify a Chevy logo, a Ford logo.
Absolutely. Yeah, logos for sure.
Logos for sure.
And what is Chevy's? Chevy trucks, like a rock,
right?
Built Ford tough.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there are many of these slogans that people remember, and I also, just as a little sidebar, want to remind people, because I actually did a paper on this some time back, that a lot of companies eventually move outside of the U.S. and they move into other countries. And as they do, their slogans don't interpret.
Or vice versa.
So I'm going to give you an example. One example was my dear now departed friend Chuck Woolery. Chuck became very famous for saying 2 and 2. And he was famous for this because he was on the set one afternoon, and he asked Eric Lieber, who was the producer, I need to call my wife. How much time do I have? And Eric said, you have 2 minutes. Commercial break. And Eric said, well, technically 2 minutes and 2 seconds because of station ID.
Hmm.
And Chuck started saying, we'll be back in 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
Mm.
And then it went from 2 minutes and 2 seconds to 2 and 2. Then the show got picked up in Australia. And he started getting flooded with, we'll call it fan mail, pre-email. People saying, we love the show, but why do you hate us? Why are you so rude to your audience? Because this was our version of giving someone the finger in Australia.
Ah,
Well, it's clearly because he hates Australians.
right, obviously.
But they thought he was flipping them off on
Right,
each commercial break.
Right.
So Chuck actually changed it to we'll be back in 2 and 2.
Ah.
So if you watch the show later, he puts up like a check mark with his fingers,
That looks
with
closer
the
to
2
a
fingers,
handgun,
which
but yeah.
which fixed the problem in Australia. But there's been lots of other examples of these interpretations, like when Pepsi rolled out their products on a big national billboard campaign.
This is a story I remember you telling.
And Pepsi's campaign at the time was, we bring good, what was it? The drink of a generation.
Yes. That was the Britney Spears era, that all that stuff, right?
But it interpreted in Taiwan as, we bring your dead ancestors back from the dead. We bring your ancestors back from the dead. So everybody woke up with these billboards saying there's a soda that brings back dead relatives.
How were the sales?
I'm not sure, and obviously that's all that matters. Did the product sell? There was, Buick rolled out the what was it? The Buick LaCrosse.
Mm-hmm.
Except in French, that means masturbate.
Ah, wow.
So when they rolled it out in Canada, they launched the LaCrosse in Montreal and Quebec, and people thought they had a car called the Buick Masturbator.
And how were the sales?
Right. You're not getting the point, Mark.
No,
So
I hear what you're saying, Mark. It's a delicate balance, because when you're designing something and you put all that effort into it, but you don't really think around corners, right? It's better to be simple, right? It's better to be clean. It's better to have a design that is sort of, I don't want to say universal, but that can't be misinterpreted different ways, if at all possible.
Well, and when we're talking about branding, right? I mean, let's start with the end in mind, right? What's the goal that you're trying to accomplish? Like, what's, for any company, like, what's the goal of branding? What's the role that branding plays into the growth of the business and branding? Slogans, logos, all these different things. Right?
But I think people get too wrapped up in the logo is the brand.
Right.
Exactly.
Because the logo's not the brand. The brand is the brand.
Right. 100%. They get the
touch point.
Right. These items that we're talking about, I'll call them items, or as Paul likes to call artifacts, because he's a creative director. But what these are meant to do is they're distinctive assets that are supposed to help create anchors in consumers' minds, right? Like as you were talking about, Mark, all these different logos. Well, when you're that size, obviously, if you didn't have this asset that could create that anchor to get that memory when you're going through your purchase or research process, then it's going to negatively impact you, right? So all these are for is to make sure, hey, a consumer can literally remember you when they're going into that purchase process. That's what they're there for. So how do you ensure that you're creating an asset that, when the goal is simply to make sure that when they're going to buy product X of any kind, that they remember you, and the asset needs to be distinctive to your brand. And then obviously, Mark, as you talked about, there's a lot of energy that goes into actually making sure that it is memorable when you talk about media and things of that nature.
Yeah, so we look at like McDonald's. So McDonald's logo is basically just the two arches that make an M.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the architectural design of everything.
Right.
It's the building, it's the food, it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you think about how McDonald's, and they've got great advertising, and when you think of their slogan of "You deserve a break today."
Yeah.
So first off, it has the perfect number of words.
Yes, it does.
Second thing, it has the most important word in the English language at the beginning, which is me.
Mm-hmm.
The only way they could have made it better is if it said, Paul deserves a break today.
Right.
Justin deserves a break today.
Right.
So you, meaning me, I'm the important thing, deserve. So somehow I have
I've earned
earned
it.
something, a break. You're absolutely right. I need it.
Mhm.
And it's today, which
Right
is
now.
call to action.
Yep.
Right now. You deserve a break today is amazing.
Yes.
And we think of Burger King, have it your way.
Right.
But when we think of have it your way, what are we telling people? This is not just a clever slogan. This is what makes Burger King different than McDonald's
Yeah.
because it's made to order.
Yes.
Well, yeah, Mark. I mean, those two examples that you just gave, from a tagline or a slogan standpoint, are about the customer. They're not about the brand.
Right.
And that's something that, again, when we're talking about creating these artifacts, assets, deliverables, what have you, Justin, when we're talking about creating them, a lot of times brands forget it's not about the brand. It's about what I can do for the customer, especially in today's always on market where customers place themselves at the center of the story, and brands that don't do that are the ones that are going to fail. So you
Right.
deserve a break today has nothing to do with hamburgers, has nothing
Right.
to, it's we understand you and we've got the
Right.
thing that you deserve, right?
Right.
It's putting the customer at the center of their own story.
Now, how many times have you guys driven down the street and saw a van, a commercial van,
Mhm.
lettered up with some local company on it,
Yep.
and they will have a slogan under the name, and it will be something clever like, "You tried all the rest, now get the best."
It's a good one.
Something extremely memorable.
Write that down.
Oh,
And but haven't you seen these things?
Of course. Yeah.
And are
Yeah.
they not just a complete and total waste of space on that
Yes.
vehicle?
Right. You're not telling me anything. You're not telling me anything that matters to me. Right.
Or, a family business since 1992.
Right.
well, part of that too, Mark, is because they're really good at, plumbing. They're
Mhm.
really bad at marketing themselves. Right.
Right. Right. Always will be.
Yeah.
Well,
So let's start by talking about the logo. Everybody's always worried about the logo. What should a company really be looking for in a logo? Because again, some of them are incredibly detailed and elaborate. Other logos is a circle with an arrow through it. I mean, what should people be trying to do with their logo?
Well, I mean, if you're I had like I said, I had a designer friend of mine years ago. I had this same discussion with him, and he said his idea of a perfect logo is one that someone not only can remember, but that they can draw that logo with a stick in the sand. And the reason, what he was really trying to say is that the simplicity of the logo is part of the memorability of that logo. And then when you combine that with the right word mark or the right slogan or the right experience and all of that stuff, that's how that logo becomes memorable. And so the other sort of side to that is you look at a brand like Twitter, or what used to be Twitter. That bird meant nothing until it was defined by the experience that someone had with that brand.
Although it's a lot easier to make an X in the sand.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, in that way, I guess Elon Musk was listening to,
But I'm listening to what you're
yeah.
saying, and I could easily take a stick and make two arches in the sand.
Right.
Mhm.
I could make the Ford oval in the sand.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I could make the Chevy bow tie
Yep.
in the sand.
Yep.
I could even make the Pepsi logo in the sand, which is a circle with a little squiggly in the middle of it. I could probably, put together the Nike swoosh in the sand.
Yep.
The apple with the bite out of it. I'm all
Yep.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very simple. It's very simple because it's easy, right? And that's what we have to make sure that we're doing is we have to make sure that it's easy to remember, that it has to be, again, there's always this conversation. And if any of our listeners are readers of Byron Sharp's work. We love their work. They have a book out called Distinctive Assets. I highly recommend you read it. But it's about making sure that your asset is distinct, which means that that asset is not just different for different sake, that is distinct, that it is unique to you and to the brand and to the experience the brand is trying to make. So there's continuity throughout the experience, but it's not different just for different sake, right? And that's what you're talking about. Is it's very easy to create a different and overcomplicated brand logo, and you're looking at it yourself and you're going, yeah, this will really stick out, right? Sure, it will, but that does not mean that it's going to be memorable, okay? And that does not mean that it's going to be easy for the consumer to take in and take action to, and it's going to create their relationship for the brand with the customer. Those are not the same things.
Yeah, I want to point something out too, that oftentimes, because of my age, I sort of like came up in the world at the time where like clothing brands was a big deal. You know, like, oh, I wear Tommy Hilfiger or whatever. If you think about all of their logos that had to be on your shirt, right? They had to be simple, they had to be small, they had to be memorable, they had, so you see a little alligator. Okay, well, I have Lacoste on. You have the Tommy Hilfiger red and white.
Right, the polo.
Yes.
Exactly. Even though that's a little more complex, it's still a silhouette of a guy playing polo.
Right.
Like, and I'm drawn to Mark's shirt here, right? So he's got the McLaren word mark, which has their little logo bug, right? Like I could draw that logo bug in the sand.
Right. And it's also the headlight of the car.
Right. And so it's very purposeful.
Right.
And so when I think about logo design, my mind naturally kind of goes to that era back in the late 90s and early 2000s where there was like it was what is the brand you have, not what is the style or anything like that. Not that is the guiding principle, but I often think of how these things are going to be used. And to your point, if they're so over designed and so overdone with so many different elements, you can't use them anywhere. So no one's going to remember them anyway.
Right. It's a great point.
So now I'm older than you guys. So one of the first things that I used to look at when we would do logo designs, we were carving them in concrete, of course.
Yeah, well, obviously.
But when we used to chisel out a logo, one of the things we used to actually do was to fax them to find out if they could actually be faxed or if they just showed up as a blob.
Oh, see, interesting. It's a very similar test.
Because intricate logos on a fax machine just show up as a big black blob.
Right.
Huh. Interesting.
Now, so by design, most of the logos were smudgy.
But the same still holds true for putting a logo through a copy machine, for scanning it and ending up in black and white.
Yeah. Yes.
What are other things that we want to look at? Because we want to be able to look at these logos in different environments, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to be able to see it in multiple situations, executions, whether it's a tiny digital banner ad on your website, on some documents that are just printed out, trade show materials, but you name it, right? You T-shirts, as you already talked about. You know,
Justin, that actually reminded me of something. I remember years ago I was working on a brand and they were developing an app, and there was no way to visually represent them on a tiny square phone. And so even something as, I don't want to say new because apps aren't new, but like even something as
pervasive as
like you have to take all of these things into account. Like look at Google. Okay, the Google logo is their word mark, right? Which is a different thing than a logo, but their Google logo is a word mark, but it's also that G, right?
Yes. Yep.
And so the simplicity of that G, yes, with the colors and all that stuff, but you know it when you see it. It stands for nothing other than Google.
Yes, exactly.
So Paul, you're saying it sounds like what we're saying here is we would want to, as you're talking about being able to draw it in sand.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're looking for a minimalized style on the logo. So I'm assuming something that does not have a bunch of detail and multiple colors inside of a little tiny space.
Yep.
I'm assuming it needs to be applied across multiple properties while being developed. Does it fit on a letterhead? Does it work in a banner ad? Will it fit on an app? Can it be scanned? How does it look on a t-shirt? Can you put it on a business card? What does it look like on the packaging?
Yep.
Now, the other thing I want people to keep in mind is, especially in the world of consumer packaged goods, consumers are buying outcomes first.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing, especially for a new brand that doesn't have a lot of name recognition, consumers are buying you because of the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
not because of the brand, because the brand is unknown right now.
Sure.
So this is another place where I see people make a lot of mistakes in their packaging.
Mm-hmm.
I see their package design, and 60% of their package is taken up by the logo,
Right.
and it's at the top of the package.
Mm-hmm.
And then 40% of the rest of the packaging is to actually promote the attributes.
Yes.
So in a good package design, what would be the right way to really do, what would be the right things we would be looking for in a package design for a new product to sit on the shelf?
That's kind of a loaded question because there's a lot that goes into that. Obviously, if you're talking about,
if you're Tide, you just want a big giant Tide logo.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's to your point. If it's not Tide, right? If you're not a category leader, if you're an actual challenger, which is a lot of what we obviously deal with, then you're going to want to get people to understand what you do and why it's better or why it's, the outcome that you're going to get. If you're Kleenex, right? I mean, that's what you need, right?
Oh,
there. Everyone knows what that is, right?
Because you are the generic word for facial tissue.
Right.
You don't have to say, wipes boogers better than any other,
right.
But to your point, if you are so in love with your own logo, your own work, and that's the thing that you are making like front and center and not a supporting piece, then you're often going to fail.
Well,
at that point. Sorry.
I think, Paul, and we have this conversation a lot. It comes down to, again, think about the customer.
Yep.
Now think about what is the experience that you are trying to have that customer go through, right? What are the most important things to them? What is it about your product and your offering that is different in the experience and the experiential outcomes that you're looking for them to have? So to your point, right, that's going to dictate how the package is designed.
Yeah.
Is it a minimalistic design because I want something sleek and then simple because that's what makes us different, and so it's going to be a matte finish, or do I actually need an experiential element to my packaging so that they can see it, they can touch it, they can smell it, but it's still in a box because I want to be able to say some things, right? Mm-hmm. All of these things are going to drive, but it starts with the customer in mind first, making sure that what is the experience that they're going to be able to have when they touch, feel, and hold your product, and then now think about, okay, great. Now, where can I make sure that I've strategically placed the brand so that, to your point, Mark, the brand doesn't get in the way? Because the brand at this point for these size, CPG products is not the element that's going to sell them. That's the anchor that we talked about earlier. Say, oh yeah, I remember that. Now it's about what it does for them. So how can you create the best experience possible based on your product category and brand? But the brand is secondary.
Well, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, how do we, if you would talk for a minute about how to make that font and that logo support what the product's deliverable or promise is.
Don't use papyrus.
So everything's going Times New Roman, right?
For those of you font nerds out there that have actually seen that SNL sketch, that was brilliant. Well, it does depend, because different fonts are obviously going to give you different feelings. And so what I was about to say too, so thank you for leading into that, is it depends on what the product is and who the customer is, to Justin's point, right? So if it's a beauty brand, that font can't be, blocky and harsh and, masculine, or, it has to feel like the way you want someone to feel when they're using your product, right? And so that's why I say it's kind of a loaded question of, how do you design your package around sort of these principles. But there is a move more recently to a minimalistic, clean, I don't even want to use the word green because it doesn't mean much anymore, but like a sort of more welcoming feel, as opposed to like the high color, flashy, package design of sort of
Mhm.
before, right? And some of that, and the other point that I was going to make is that you have to get your logo, slogan, and all of that stuff correct, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right? You can't put out a draft and say, well, here's 1.0. It's like, well, that's like putting out a product and saying, well, yeah, it breaks, but it's 1.0. You have to put it out correctly, but you can always adjust and change later. Think about
Most
all
logos do
right.
mature.
They
Yes.
are going. I mean, look at something like a Walmart or Starbucks or even Apple, right? Like
Right.
the original logos that they had were very different from the ones that they have today.
Yes.
And so it's not that it has to be. It's not that you can't change it,
No.
but there comes a point, like we were talking about earlier, of diminishing returns, where I've spent so much time poring over this logo and the tagline and the word mark and all of this stuff, that you lose focus on what the consumer is actually trying to get out of your product. And Justin, to your point, if I have a product that needs to be felt or touched or tasted or smelled or whatever, I need to design a package that makes me feel the way I want them to feel
Yeah.
when they're experiencing those things. And if I can, give me the ability to touch it, give me the ability
Right.
to hear it. But yeah, Mark, your point is correct, is don't let the logo be don't let the logo or the name get in the way of the thing that is important, which is the outcome.
But I do want to make sure that we do touch on that. It's not that these things are not important, right? Because I like the term that you used, Paul, which was you still have to make sure they're correct.
Right.
So you still need to make sure that what you have designed does align with the foundational principles that you've established for your brand, and also aligns with your customer.
Yeah.
Right? Look at what happened to Jaguar when they updated their logo. Disaster.
Well, look what they've done to the brand now. Now they've killed the brand. Do you realize
Right.
that they killed sales? The sales dropped 97%
Yeah,
since their new TV commercial.
Right.
They sold 47 cars last month.
Sorry. I don't mean to laugh.
That's a bad day for one. That's a bad month for one dealer.
One dealership. Right. Right. Exactly. But
And by the way, the marketing department is still defending their move. Is, oh no, that's exactly what we were out to do. We were out to kill ourselves.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
It was brand suicide, and they did a good job. But getting back to it, that's how these things are still very important to get correct, but they can evolve. They can grow, just like brands and businesses do.
But Jaguar gives us a great opportunity of how to take a 100-year-old storied brand and kill it in one day.
Yes. Yeah.
Literally kill the brand on the Super Bowl. Dead.
When I first saw the new logo, I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought someone was just kidding. It's the internet. There's stuff that's fake all the time. And then I was like, oh no, this is serious. Like, they really did that. What is wrong with you? How did you ever think that was a good idea?
Now, I'm thinking about, like, when we look at Nike's logo, the swoosh gives you the appearance of motion. And a McLaren logo is kind of like that too. It gives you that feeling of motion. So, you think about Nike, it's just a check mark.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's in motion, like it's in action.
Yes. Yeah.
Now let's add this to the slogan conversation.
Yeah.
Now, again, I just want to talk, I'm going to talk from a media standpoint.
Okay.
From a media standpoint, to have a slogan identifiable, have it your way. You deserve a break today.
Ah,
We bring good things to life. Like a rock. You have, it's $100 million a year, year after year after year in advertising.
yes. Yes.
Those are the kind of dollars that have to be spent to have a slogan that matters.
Yeah.
Now that, and then let me ask you a question, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think that it's not that I don't think a statement or a slogan is not useful, but I almost think in many cases it may be more useful for the internal marketing than it is for the external marketing.
Sure. I have kind of I have a sweet spot when I'm trying to write taglines or logos, and the best ones sort of come out of all the strategy that's done up front. Like Justin, you can attest to this, that where
Yeah.
usually things that come out of that, it's almost like, well, yeah, of course this has to be the tagline, right? But when we're talking about creating a perfect tagline or a perfect slogan, it's perfect.
Right.
You do want to put the customer at the forefront. You do want to keep it short.
Yeah.
The tagline or slogan shouldn't be so universal that it could be about anything. And if you can, give it a dual meaning. One of my favorite slogans of all time, because it does all of those things in a manner of speaking, is the old Smucker's slogan. Right, with a name like Smucker's, it has to be good. Right, it means two things. It means, hey, with this ridiculous name, we have to have made this good, right? And also it talks about with this name, this stamp of approval, this name, it must be good, right? It also implicitly puts it on the person to say, this is for you, this is good, this is above everyone else. It's short, it's memorable, it's got the name of the company in it, but it's also the other element, Mark, and this is my roundabout way of sort of answering your question. Most taglines or slogans that are, in my opinion, the most effective are also calls to action. They're also actionable, right? Smucker's isn't necessarily from that perspective, but have a Coke and a smile,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that.
Right.
That is,
You deserve a break today. Is
right?
immediate
Right.
action.
And that's kind of the point. Is so yes, if it is more useful for internal if you're not sort of hitting at least a few of those different points. But I think if you can make it about the consumer, make it about the customer, make it an actionable thing, make it so that it's not about anything, that it could literally be about anything from hamburgers to cars to fishing poles.
Yeah.
And then if you can make it a dual meaning, that just makes it even better.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I think from a more, like, to your point, Mark, like I guess from a more tactical, for lack of a better term, kind of viewpoint of it,
Mhm.
I think, especially when we're talking about most brands, right? Because most brands don't have $100 million, especially that we talk to, a year to spend in advertising, right? So, but what it comes down to is a good slogan like that. I think it's more about the unconscious continuous experience that the customer has with you. It's less about them consciously remembering it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more about, if this is what we're about and it shows up in our email and in our packaging, and so then every experience unconsciously I'm taking in that impression, and then that experience aligns with it. So now there's more continuity, which means there's more trust in what I'm experiencing with the brand. I'm not going to remember it, but unconsciously it is setting the tone for my experience with the brand and the products. As long as
When
we're
I think
using
of
it
Harley
effectively.
Davidson would Live to Ride,
Yeah.
Right.
as a rider, it immediately makes me feel what it's like to be riding.
Right.
It has the ability to put you on the bike and say, wow, it does feel great to be riding.
Right. And even if you don't remember that 2 weeks later, but when you were consciously engaged in what was happening it did create that experience for you, and that's what the brand
And
was.
isn't there a second half of that one, Mark?
Live to ride, ride to live.
And that second thing is a call to action.
Right.
Like that's kind of the point. Is that it's not only giving you the ability to think about it and feel that feeling, but then it's saying now you should go do this, right?
Yeah.
Now, what about like Chevy? Now, I thought Chevy did a great job when they did Chevy trucks like a rock, and they married it to Bob Seger like a rock.
Yes.
So now they took this big heavy truck,
Yep.
like a rock, married it to a popular song, and literally took the song lyrics and made them part of the campaign. But when you think of the Chevy campaign like a rock, don't you kind of hear the song?
Oh yeah, I hear it now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was one of the sort of those magical moments, that actually came out of Detroit. So, like I said, shout out to Bill Ludwig. But that was one of those magical moments where everything sort of came together perfectly, and people. There was a heuristic in people's minds already of what that meant and what that song was, and it was in my opinion, it was a case of help that which wants to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect.
So, wrapping up here, what else? What other advice do we want to give brands that are working on their logos and their taglines? Leave it to professionals.
Hire us and let us do it. Yeah.
But that is the good. I mean, really, if you're thinking about advice, that is great. Hire true professionals, and when we talk about this, hire true professionals that are paying attention to your brand. That the logos and the slogans and these things they're talking about are coming from who the brand is and who the brand wants to be 10 years from now, not something that they can design that you say, oh, I like the way that looks, right? You need someone who's building the foundation of your business, because again, your brand, that is the first impression, right? That anyone's ever going to have, any customers going to have with you is these elements. So you want to make your first impression great, right? And that means, but it has to represent you. It can't just be something that you think looks nice. It needs to be founded in these strategic principles that we've been talking about. So again, don't just hire a designer. Hire professionals that are building.
I see that happen so often. Well, we hired a logo designer. Yes, but what's the brand?
Right.
They didn't make the brand.
Exactly.
Or the brand doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah, they're not thinking about the details the way that a team of professionals does. And again, I know I jokingly said hire us, but you're right, Justin, in that there are certain things I can do around the house, right? Change the light bulb, I can, fix a pipe, I can, whatever. But when it comes down to actually making sure that the things that need to get done, I have to hire a professional. And just, I see this time and time again where clients will come to us and they'll say, hey, they got this great idea for a tagline or a great idea for a logo. And it's like, yeah, well, did you think about this and this and this and this and this and this and this? I mean, the world is littered with top 20 lists of the worst logos. Usually all of them have some sort of phallic shape, an accidental phallus, but there's a logo graveyard because people aren't taking in all of these things into account when they're designing and when they're coming up with and when they're creating and when they're looking around corners and trying, So yeah, I joked and said, hire us and let us do it. But the reality is that if you're not thinking about, we're thinking about your brand the way you're thinking about your product, and the way that you spent all that time trying to figure out exactly what it does and exactly how it's formulated and that's what we're doing for your brand. It's not an afterthought. It can't be an afterthought.
Well, it's really hard to read the label when you're inside the jar.
Yep.
So that's one of the other advantages of having some outside guidance is you are literally in the forest looking for the tree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
And by the way, I want people to understand something. The worst marketing client in the world is an ad agency.
Oh, sorry.
We are the worst.
Yeah.
Because because we know how to do things, we get locked into this everlasting loop of we can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with designing an ad agency, designing their own website. How many ad agency websites have you gone to where it's like, well, the site's under construction. We're,
Right.
we're improving the site because no matter what they make, oh, look, we know how to do this.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Or even worse, every other year there's a new website, new logo, new, because
Right. We're reinventing ourselves again. It's like, no, stop tinkering. It's over.
Well, thanks, guys. We'll wrap it up today, folks. If you like today's show, make sure you go to wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. If you're not subscribed, hit the little subscribe button. And what else do we want people to do? If you need to get a hold of us, if you want to talk to us, you can go to cpginsiders.com. You can go to Jekyll+Hyde.labs.com.
Yep.
And you can also go to meetmarkyoung.com, and on any of those websites, you can talk to Virtual Mark.
That's right. You got MarkBot.
So Virtual Mark means we've taken all of the knowledge that I've written down over the years, dumped it into an AI engine, and you can go there and you can ask it questions.
Yep. So if you're not ready for a full-fledged conversation with Mark Young, because who is? But use the tool. It really does have some really great responses. It's got a lot of really great knowledge, and if you're trying to get a foundational start on anything for your business, it truly is a great tool to start. And then, of course, if you've gotten to the point where you're like, this is great information and there's no way I could do this, reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're here to take care of that part for you.
Mm-hmm. That's it for today, folks. We'll see you on the next episode of CPG Insiders.
See ya.
If you're looking to greatly increase sales on your CPG product, don't hesitate to contact us at Jekyll+Hyde Advertising and Marketing. By the way, the only advertising agency with a guaranteed result. Just go to Jekyll+HydeAgency.com or feel free to give us a call at 800-500-4210.